chosen ones, if you're seeing this right now, understand, it's not by accident. You were guided here for a reason. They thought you were just another mortal, just another soul passing through time. But they were wrong. You were never meant to serve. You were born to reign. The gods, the enemies, the dark forces, they all underestimated what you truly are. They challenged you, expecting you to break. But instead, you awakened. And what stirred inside you was not fear. It was fire. When the final devil god rose to end it all, you stood your ground. You didn't beg. You didn't bow. You became the judgment. You destroyed the last devil god, not with worship, but with sheer will and cosmic truth. And now, the ones who tried to silence you regret ever speaking your name. This isn't your rise, it's your reckoning, and they will pay. Before we go any deeper into this divine message, pause for a moment and do 3 simple things. Hit that like button to amplify this truth, subscribe to help us reach 20,000 chosen ones, and leave a comment with the number 11 to confirm you've received this transmission. That number is a divine signal, a sign that this message was meant for you. Now stay with me, because what comes next will shake your reality. They laughed when you stood alone. Immortal, they said, frail, breakable, bound by flesh. In their immortal arrogance, the gods saw you as nothing more than dust, waiting to be scattered by the winds of fate. But you weren't just another name to be forgotten. You were a spark hidden in the shadows, a flame waiting for the storm to ignite it. And when the time came, you didn't burn out. You became the inferno. Every trial they hurled at you was designed to make you kneel. Mountains collapsed, oceans screamed, and the skies themselves turned crimson with divine rage. But you stood firm, not because you were invincible, but because your spirit refused to die. Pain didn't weaken you. It taught you how to endure. Betrayal didn't destroy you. It showed you who you were when everything else was stripped away. And when they finally realized they hadn't broken you, they feared you. Now, they speak your name in whispers, cloaked in dread and awe. Temples that once mocked your defiance now tremble with silence. Gods that once held galaxies in their palms now avert their gaze from your light. You didn't become powerful by accident. You became necessary to restore balance, to end the tyranny of the divine, who had grown drunk on their own myth. They regret everything now, not just the trials, not just the pain. They regret ever underestimating the fire hiding in your mortal soul. Because in their challenge, they awakened something they could never control. A force wrapped in humanity, but born to rewrite eternity. And that's what you became. Not their hero, not their villain, but their reckoning. And with every breath you draw, they are reminded that they created their own undoing the moment they called you weak. Absolutely. I'll continue with the full script, keeping the same engaging, emotional, and humanized style throughout each heading. Here's the continuation for the next headings, with 5 long paragraphs each. Due to length, I'll provide several headings at a time. For eons, the last devil god was a shadow looming over the cosmos, an unstoppable force that even the gods feared to face. Legends spoke of his wrath, the havoc he wrought, and the despair that followed in his wake. He was a living apocalypse, a nightmare forged from the darkest corners of creation. Yet, you faced him, alone, without divine armor or celestial aid. The battle was not just physical, it was a war of wills, a test of who could endure beyond mere strength. While the devil god raged with fury, you moved with purpose. Each strike you delivered was more than power. It was a testament to your will, your refusal to be erased by destiny. You didn't just fight the last devil god, you shattered the myth that no mortal could challenge the divine. And when his form finally crumbled before your eyes, something greater than victory was born. It was the proof that legends can fall, that gods and devils alike can bleed, and that the power to change the universe lies not in divine right, but in relentless courage. You did not inherit this power. You earned it, forged in the crucible of sacrifice and defiance. Now the echoes of that battle ripple through eternity. The stars themselves whisper your name, and the dark forces that once rallied beneath the devil god scatter in fear. What you destroyed was not just a being of immense power, it was a symbol of fear that bound countless souls in chains, and with it gone, a new dawn begins. This victory is not merely a tale of conquest, it is a declaration. The era of unquestioned divine supremacy is over. The last devil god has fallen, and it was you who cast the final blow. You were never the chosen one foretold by ancient scrolls or celestial visions. No stars aligned to mark your rise, no chorus of angels heralded your coming. Instead, your path was carved through fire, through trials that no prophecy could foresee, through pain that no oracle could predict. Your destiny was not handed down, it was burned into your soul. Each scar you carry tells a story of resilience, of nights spent in darkness, of battles waged in silence, of moments when hope was nothing more than a whisper against the roaring tempest. You were chosen not because fate decided so, but because you refused to be broken. You chose yourself when the gods looked away. This kind of choosing is raw, unfiltered, and born from the deepest wells of human spirit. It's the kind of power that doesn't come from lineage or divine favor, but from relentless struggle, from refusing to bow when the world demands it. It's a fire that consumes doubt and fuels an unyielding will. And it's that fire that makes you a true sovereign, not the puppet of prophecy, but the author of your own legend. You shattered the illusion that destiny is fixed and replaced it with the undeniable truth. Destiny is what you make of it. No ancient seer could have predicted your rise. Because you weren't born from the stars, you were born from the blaze of your own making. The gods designed their tests to break mortals, to crush their spirits and bend their will to divine command. They believed their power was absolute, their judgment infallible. You were meant to be another casualty of their hubris, but every trial they imposed, every blade of agony they plunged into your heart, did not weaken you. It forged you. Pain is a harsh teacher, but one that reveals truth in its cruelest form. You learned that true strength isn't the absence of suffering, but the mastery over it. With every fall, you rose stronger, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. The gods wanted your obedience. You gave them defiance. This forging was not just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, and existential. You confronted the darkest parts of yourself, the fear and doubt that whispered lies in the dead of night. But you did not surrender. You embraced your scars, your flaws, your humanity, and from them built a new kind of power. That power is unbreakable because it's built on truth. The gods tested the boundaries of your soul, but they could not see that the soul they tried to shatter was tempered by fire. Your strength is not a gift from the heavens, it is a victory over them. Legends are not born, they are made. Your journey from mortal to myth was not a twist of fate, but a sequence of choices drenched in blood, sweat, and relentless willpower. The cosmos watched in silence as you carved a path through impossible odds, not by luck, but by sheer determination. You were a mortal with flaws, fears, and doubts. But myths don't require perfection. They demand perseverance. Your story is one of transformation, where every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of despair became fuel to ignite a legend that would never fade. Myths endure because they touch something eternal in us: hope, courage, rebellion. Your ascension is a beacon for all who feel powerless, a testament that the impossible is only impossible until someone dares to challenge it. You became more than a mortal because you refused to accept the limits placed upon you. Your name will be spoken for generations, not as a story of divine favor, but as a saga of human will defying the stars themselves. The cosmos may have been written in the hands of gods, but your legacy is etched in the hearts of those who dream of changing the universe. Absolutely. Here's the continuation, with the next 5 headings, keeping the emotional, vivid, and engaging tone. To stand against a god is to stare into the abyss of infinite power and divine wrath. Mortals tremble before such beings, paralyzed by the knowledge that their lives are but fleeting whispers in the eternal symphony. But you stepped forward, fearless and unyielding. You faced the impossible, with nothing but your resolve as your shield. The battle was a clash of cosmic forces, a dance of light and shadow where every moment could have been your last. The god wielded power beyond comprehension, but you fought with something they never had, an unbreakable spirit born of pain, sacrifice, and relentless will. While they wielded divine might, you wielded purpose. Victory was never guaranteed. It was earned in the fires of battle, in every heartbeat that screamed defiance, in every breath taken against overwhelming odds. When the god fell, it wasn't just a triumph over a celestial being. It was a shattering of the false notion that gods are invincible. Your victory sent shockwaves through the heavens, rewriting what it means to wield power. You proved that divinity can be challenged, that immortals can fall, and that the strength of a mortal heart can shake the very foundations of the universe. And so, the world changed. Not because the gods allowed it, but because you dared to defy them and won. The heavens once whispered of a force too terrifying to imagine, a reckoning, born not of divine decree, but of human fury. They buried the prophecies deep, hoping to silence the fear. But you awakened it, the living nightmare that no god could control, the embodiment of rebellion that shattered celestial complacency. Your power is not something they can contain or predict. It is raw, unpredictable, and born from the very imperfections the gods disdain. The heavens feared what you represent, a force that refuses to bow, to kneel, or to be silenced. In you, the divine sees its greatest threat, not in strength alone, but in the fire of unyielding freedom. The fear you evoke is ancient and profound, rooted in the knowledge that their reign is not eternal. Your awakening is a call to all who suffer under divine tyranny, that liberation is possible even against the highest powers. Now, every celestial gaze turns to you with trepidation. You are no longer just a mortal. You are the reckoning the heavens tried to bury. And they know deep within that your awakening heralds the end of their unquestioned dominion. Power born from ease is fragile. Power forged in comfort is brittle. But your strength, it was carved out of hardship, etched with tears, blood, and unyielding perseverance. Every ounce of your power comes from the battles you endured, the losses you suffered, and the nights you fought darkness alone. You never asked for power. It was thrust upon you through suffering. But instead of breaking, that pain became your teacher, your weapon, your armor. It taught you resilience, shaped your vision, and ignited a fire within that no force, divine or mortal, could extinguish. This kind of power commands respect, not because it was handed down from above, but because it was earned with every scar you wear proudly. You transformed every wound into a lesson, and every heartbreak into fuel for your rise. When you stand tall, it is not because gods lifted you up, but because you raised yourself from the ashes again and again. Your power is the raw truth of your journey, unfiltered, unrelenting, and undeniably yours. The moment you refused to submit, you became an enemy, not just to gods, but to all who thrived on their control. You were branded a threat, a rebel, a force to be destroyed. Yet, what began as their attempt to erase you only cemented your legacy. Enemies often become legends, and legends become kings. They called you their adversary, but the world calls you supreme. You shattered their expectations, destroyed their idols, and rewrote the rules they tried to enforce. What was meant to be your end was only your beginning. They plotted your downfall in shadows, but you rose in light. Every attempt to diminish you made you stronger, more formidable, and more unstoppable. The enemy they created, they now fear, respect, and ultimately cannot ignore. In this grand cosmic chess game, you didn't just survive, you dominated. And now, those who once hunted you speak your name with reverence. You are no longer their enemy. You are their reckoning, their equal, their supreme. The celestial and infernal realms alike spoke in hushed tones of your deeds. No angel dared to challenge the divine decree. No demon had the strength or will to defy the abyss. Yet you, born of mortal flesh and indomitable will, achieved what both failed to accomplish. You crossed boundaries others feared to approach, shattered barriers, both holy and unholy, and brought down forces that had reigned uncontested for eons. Angels trembled at your resolve, demons recoiled from your clarity. You navigated the gray space between light and darkness with a purpose neither side could comprehend. This is not just victory, it's transcendence. You did not just survive the eternal war, you became a new kind of force, one born of balance, defiance, and unwavering conviction. You wrote your own code where none existed. In doing so, you did what was thought impossible, changed the eternal narrative. You are a living testament that true power lies not in lineage or allegiance, but in the courage to stand alone against all forces. Absolutely. Here's the final part, with the last 5 headings, crafted with the same emotional depth and immersive storytelling. The heavens believed that their ultimate test would break you, that it would crush your spirit like all the others before it. They sent storms of divine fury, unleashed celestial armies, and twisted fate itself against you. But on that day, they discovered their gravest mistake. Their final trial wasn't just a challenge, it was a judgment, a moment meant to erase your existence from the cosmos. But instead, it became the day they sowed the seeds of their own downfall. When you stood tall amid the ruin, unyielding and fierce, the heavens began to tremble. It was a reckoning no prophecy had warned them about. A mortal who rose beyond their expectations, who turned their wrath into his strength. Every blow they delivered was met with a fiercer defiance. Their confidence turned into fear, their certainty into doubt. That day, the celestial order fractured. Doubts crept into the hearts of gods, and whispers of regret spread across their halls. They underestimated you, and that miscalculation would echo through eternity. The heavens wished they had never sent that final trial, for it was the crucible that forged their greatest fear. And as the dust settled, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. Destiny is often seen as an unbreakable chain, something fixed, inevitable, and impossible to alter. They expected you to be a link in their grand design, a pawn moving silently toward an end already written. But you shattered that illusion. You refused to be a servant of fate. You became its author. Every choice you made, every defiant step forward, rewrote the rules that bound countless souls before you. You turned the page on what was supposed to be your story, crafting instead a saga of rebellion, strength, and transformation. Where destiny demanded obedience, you delivered revolution. You showed that destiny isn't a prison, but a canvas, a space for those brave enough to paint their own future. The heavens may have written the first drafts, but you hold the pen now. The cosmos itself bends to the weight of your will, and no force, divine or mortal, can erase the mark you've left. You are a living testament that fate is not something we inherit, it is something we seize. You do not follow the path set before you, you blaze new trails across the stars. This is no longer their story, this is yours. The gods built their empire on order, on unquestioned hierarchy, obedience, and the suppression of dissent. Your existence is a rupture in that order, a wild storm that no divine law can contain. You are the anomaly that shatters their perfect design. Where they impose control, you inspire freedom. Where they sow fear, you cultivate courage. Your presence is a living rebellion, a declaration that their reign is neither eternal nor absolute. You threaten the very foundations of their power. To the gods, you are chaos incarnate, a living contradiction that undermines their control over the universe. Your strength doesn't come from submission or worship, but from the power of choice, of will, and of truth. In defying them, you unravel the threads that hold their divine order intact. They know that as long as you stand, their empire is unstable. Your very being is a challenge to the system that once seemed untouchable. And with every step you take, the divine order edges closer to collapse. Before your rise, there was only chaos and silence, a universe ruled by cold divinity and the echoes of forgotten souls. You emerged from that void, not as a mere survivor, but as a living judgment, an unstoppable force balancing scales long tipped in favor of the gods. You are the reckoning for those who oppressed, the voice for those silenced. You carry the weight of countless lives crushed beneath divine cruelty and bear their pain as fuel for your unstoppable march. Where once was silence, you have brought thunder. This judgment is neither cruel nor merciful. It is absolute. You do not seek vengeance for its own sake, but justice for a universe longing to be free. You stand as the embodiment of the truth the gods denied. That power belongs not to the mighty alone, but to the worthy. In your presence, the cosmos trembles, not because of fear alone, but because balance has been restored. You are the force that brings order to chaos, not by submission, but through relentless truth. The gods demanded your submission. They sought worship, obedience, and silence in the face of their divine will. But you refused. Instead of bowing, you stood tall. Instead of worship, you delivered obliteration. You did not simply defy them. You erased their certainty, their power, and their control. Where they expected compliance, you delivered destruction. You became the end of their arrogance, the undoing of their divine plans. Your rebellion is not just personal, it is cosmic. You unraveled the chains they forged to bind mortals and immortals alike. Your legacy is one of freedom, raw, fierce, and eternal. The gods who once looked down upon you now tremble before the storm you have become. In the final reckoning, it is clear. The gods wanted obedience, but you gave them oblivion. And with that, you didn't just rise, you reigned. You weren't born into greatness. The fury that drove you was not inherited. It was forged in loss, betrayal, and the hunger to survive. This fury wasn't blind rage, it was a calculated fire, burning away the remnants of fear and doubt that tried to cage your spirit. The world around you tried to silence your roar, but instead, it only made it louder. It sharpened your resolve, forged your character, and transformed you from a mere survivor into a force no one could ignore. You were shaped by every hardship, every friend lost, every enemy betrayed, every moment you stared into oblivion and refused to blink. This wasn't a story of luck or prophecy. It was a story of relentless grit, of a heart that refused to break even when the world demanded it. Those ashes became your foundation, your altar of transformation. From that crucible, you rose, not as a victim, but as a storm, unstoppable, unyielding, and burning with the fury of 1,000 forgotten souls. You carry that fire with you always. It is not just your past. It is your power, your legacy, and the spark that will ignite the cosmos. The gods believed their chains were unbreakable. They forged laws, etched in stars, and shackled souls with promises of fate and destiny. Their power seemed absolute, their control unquestionable, but you shattered those chains, breaking free from divine imprisonment with hands forged in defiance. It was not mere strength that freed you. It was the unshakable belief that no power, celestial or infernal, could dictate your soul's path. Every link they placed around your spirit was met with a will that refused to be tamed. The very chains meant to bind you became the tools to forge your liberation. You ripped apart their divine contracts, erased their ancient edicts, and laughed in the face of laws older than time. Where they offered obedience, you offered rebellion. Where they demanded silence, you roared with truth. Your escape from their control was not just physical, it was spiritual, ideological, a declaration that freedom is the ultimate power. The gods can wield storms, shape worlds, and command legions, but they cannot command the unyielding human spirit. And so, you walk free, a living testament that the most sacred chains are made to be broken, and the greatest power is found in breaking them. You are not just a force of nature, you are the storm itself, a cosmic tempest born from the clash of mortal defiance and divine wrath. Every movement you make ripples through the fabric of reality. Every breath you take shifts the balance of power. The storm is wild, unpredictable, and relentless. It sweeps away the old and heralds the new. Those who stand in your path feel the weight of centuries breaking apart, the collapse of empires, the shattering of God's illusions, the unraveling of destinies long thought immutable. You embody chaos and order intertwined, a swirling tempest that destroys yet also cleanses. It is in your nature to dismantle tyranny, to uproot the ancient and make way for rebirth. The storm does not ask permission. It takes what it needs and leaves behind the promise of change. You carry the storm within you, not as a curse, but as a blessing. It is your power, your burden, and your gift to the universe. Wherever you go, the cosmos holds its breath, waiting to see what you will uproot next. You are not a mere ripple in the cosmic sea. You are the tempest that will reshape it forever. The gods, with all their celestial might, could not extinguish the fire burning within you. No flood of divine fury, no tempest of celestial punishment could douse the inferno of your spirit. That fire is your essence, untamed, fierce, and eternal. It is a fire kindled by suffering and fueled by relentless determination. Every hardship poured fuel onto the flames. Every betrayal added spark. Every loss fanned the blaze until it roared into a wildfire that scorched the heavens themselves. You did not seek this fire. It sought you, igniting a blaze that transformed your very being. And once lit, it refused to die, growing stronger against every attempt to smother it. That fire became your light in the darkest moments, your sword in the fiercest battles, your shield against despair. It burns with the passion of a soul that refuses to yield and the strength of one who has embraced their own destruction to become reborn. No god can quench what burns from within. Your fire is proof that true power comes not from dominion, but from the unbreakable spirit that refuses to be snuffed out. You exist in a realm that neither heaven nor hell can claim, a place beyond their reach and grasp. The divine and the infernal have long fought over souls, power, and dominion, but you have stepped beyond their battlefield entirely. This liminal space is where legends are born and destinies are rewritten. It is a place where the laws of gods don't apply, and the chains of fate lose their hold. You have carved out a kingdom not in flesh or stone, but in spirit, a domain defined by freedom, will, and transcendence. Neither angel nor demon can touch you here. Their attempts to pull you back into their wars only bounce off the shield of your resolve. You are the ultimate outsider, a force that eludes capture and defies categorization. From this space, you strike not as a servant or a pawn, but as a sovereign rewriting the rules. You have transcended their conflicts and become a new kind of power, a beacon of independence in a universe desperate to control. Here, beyond heaven and hell, you reign supreme. Certainly, here are the next 10 headings, with each containing detailed, long-form, emotionally rich paragraphs designed to captivate and resonate deeply. A revolution doesn't always roar. Sometimes it begins in silence, a quiet defiance that grows beneath the surface, unseen but unstoppable. Your rise was that kind of revolution, subtle at first, but sweeping the cosmos like a tidal wave no god could stop. No grand proclamations, no armies amassed. Instead, you dismantled their power piece by piece in acts of courage and unyielding resolve. Each small victory was a spark igniting hope in the hearts of the oppressed, a whisper that grew into a deafening chorus of change. The gods, confident in their dominion, failed to see the undercurrents of rebellion brewing beneath their feet. You moved in the shadows, turning the silence into a roar that shattered celestial complacency. This revolution was not just a battle of swords and spells. It was a war for the very soul of existence. You became the symbol of resistance, a beacon to those who believed freedom was a forgotten dream. And when the heavens finally noticed, it was too late. The silent revolution had already rewritten the future. Your journey is a saga of suffering and glory intertwined. Pain was your crucible, a relentless forge that hammered your spirit into something stronger, sharper, and more unyielding than any divine blade. Every hardship you faced was a trial by fire. Each loss was a wound that bled into the foundation of your strength. But where others might have broken, you bent without snapping, absorbing every strike and turning it into a lesson carved deep into your soul. That pain was never meaningless. It was the soil from which your triumph grew. With every step, you rose higher, not in spite of your suffering, but because of it. The scars you bear are not signs of defeat. They are marks of a warrior who has faced oblivion and returned victorious. Your crown was not given. It was earned in the darkest hours, won through relentless endurance and unwavering belief in yourself. You wear it not as a symbol of power, but as a testament to the battles you fought and won. In your triumph, pain transforms from enemy to ally, and you become a living legend, forged in fire and crowned in victory. Strength is often mistaken for physical might or magical prowess, but your true power lies in something far deeper: the unbreakable will that refuses to bend, break, or surrender no matter the odds. That will is invisible but invincible. It is the force that drives you to stand when the world says, fall, to rise when despair whispers defeat. It is a quiet voice inside you that says, not today, even when everything else screams otherwise. The gods may wield thunder and light, but they cannot command your will. That force exists beyond their influence, beyond fate and prophecy. It is your essence, pure, relentless, and eternal. Unbreakable will is the heartbeat of your journey. It is what carried you through the darkest nights and fiercest battles, and it is what will carry you into the dawn of a new era. This power is yours alone, and with it, you hold the cosmos in the palm of your hand. Your story is etched into the very fabric of the universe, written not just in the history of mortals or gods, but in the stars themselves and the shadows they cast. The heavens tried to suppress your legacy, burying it beneath divine edicts and forgotten prophecies. But stars cannot be hidden forever, and shadows cannot be erased. Your name burns bright across galaxies, a beacon for those lost in the cosmic dark. This legacy is complex, a tapestry woven from light and shadow, victory and sacrifice, hope and pain. It is not a tale of perfect heroes or flawless gods, but of a soul who embraced every part of their journey with courage and authenticity. Future generations will look to your story not as myth or legend, but as a guiding light. Your legacy will inspire revolutions, challenge tyrannies, and remind all beings that even in the vastness of the cosmos, one soul can change everything. You are immortal, not because you never fall, but because your story will never fade. At the core of your power lies a heart that dared to defy everything: divine law, fate's chains, and the whispers of doubt.